This story doesn't kick off in a courtroom or grab you with a bold headline. It slips in quietly, just a small handwritten post-it note, half hidden in an old FBI case file. The folder was sealed tight, marked with 3 chilling words: Target, Gomez. Beneath that, the status read passive OBS. No official documentation, no signature, just a mysterious code, one that insiders say was used only by Diddy's now-defunct private intelligence team. That same team is currently under the federal microscope, and the person under that quiet surveillance? Selena Gomez. She had no clue. Not the kind of being watched we talk about when paparazzi hover outside restaurants or tabloids track relationships. This was deeper, covert. Her hotel check-ins, flagged and forwarded, her rehearsal tapes, secretly archived through partner talent agencies. Even her travel patterns were being analyzed for emotional stress points. Selena was just 16 when the first dossier on her was created. The document rated her with a persona stability score, a term that might sound clinical but meant something disturbing. She was considered someone who'd go along with things even when she didn't want to. And that cold assessment? It wasn't from a news outlet. It came straight from an internal memo at Holmes Influence Logistics, a consulting firm Diddy launched back in 2007, supposedly for artist development. But off the record, it was more like psychological scouting, the moment that set off alarms. A candid photo of Selena backstage at a Disney charity event. She was laughing, relaxed, sipping water, completely at ease. But the red flag wasn't Selena. It was the man caught in the background, half concealed behind a curtain wearing a headset. He didn't work for Disney. He wasn't with Selena's crew either. He was later identified as an auditor from Pulse Events, a name tied to Scout Sync, a covert surveillance and vetting network operating in the entertainment world. That same network would quietly reappear years later during Taylor Swift's Eras tour. But here's the kicker. Selena was the first confirmed target. According to a former publicist, now under federal witness protection, Selena's name surfaced during a closed-door grooming session led by Diddy in 2012. Her designation? The prototype. Not for her fame or voice, but because of something darker, how psychologically adaptable she was. She wasn't being courted, she was being studied. They wanted to map her personality, her choices, her path, and then replicate that behavior in future recruits. Fast forward to 2014. Selena suddenly pulled out of 3 major appearances, citing exhaustion. That's when her status internally shifted to influx. Pause observation. But the watching didn't end. It just shifted focus. Instead of watching her, they watched the people around her. A stylist she'd once fired for personal oversteps popped up again, working at a Diddy-sponsored private event in Manhattan. This same stylist had access to Selena's private lookbooks, mood boards, and personal wardrobe notes. As for that cryptic post-it, it was traced back to a locked data room in Atlanta linked directly to Diddy's operations. Inside that room, rehearsal footage, intercepted audition tapes, unreleased media kits, all quietly scraped from internal entertainment circuits. The file it came from? Gomez. Long game. On the last page, sketched in pencil, was a key. Beside it, a handwritten note. She opened doors without knowing it. That's why they watched.
Every deleted tweet, fake statement, and PR cover-up takes hours to piece together. If you want to help this channel keep going, hit that join button and become a member. We'll keep exposing what they won't.
She never took the witness stand, but her presence echoed everywhere, glimpsed in backstage selfies, glam room TikToks, and blink and you'll miss it red carpet cameos. On paper, she was a no-name stylist contracted through third parties, but between 2013 and 2017, she worked closely and quietly with Selena Gomez, publicly invisible, privately essential. Her story remained locked in a sealed deposition, except for one crucial misstep that cracked everything open. I opened an envelope I wasn't supposed to, she admitted. It had no return address, no studio branding, just Selena's initials, handwritten in elegant script. Inside, a black and white photo of a house in the desert, folded with care. Tucked behind it, on the back of a concert pass, was a message. She fits the frame. Wait until the rehab story hits, then start building proximity. She didn't take the contents, didn't tell anyone, just placed the envelope back and walked away. But one thing stuck in her mind. A phone number, written in Selena's unmistakable handwriting. Months later, a call came from an unknown number. She let it go to voicemail. A calm, dazed voice, female, spoke. I shouldn't have opened that door. I don't know who was behind it, but it wasn't a stylist. FBI forensics traced the prepaid phone and later confirmed the voice belonged to Selena Gomez. In 2016, Selena publicly cited anxiety and lupus complications as the reason for a mental health break, but investigators found something else. Her name had briefly appeared on the guest log of a remote Nevada retreat tied to a former Combs Global wellness consultant. Within 36 hours, the log was scrubbed and replaced with the label Private Label Retreat. On that same day, a puff piece dropped, claiming Selena was in a Tennessee support center she never actually visited. That voicemail changed everything for the stylist. I wasn't scared until that call, she later said. After that, I checked my windows every night. She never followed up, never told Selena. But years later, in 2023, she passed a Diddy pop-up shop in Soho. In the window, a limited edition t-shirt caught her eye. On it was a phrase she'd read once before, in the note from the envelope. She took a photo and submitted it as part of her statement. During her deposition, a photo flashed in court, Selena waving on a red carpet, seemingly ordinary. But zoom in, and on the edge of the frame stood a man with a camera. Not paparazzi, not security. Later, Later, he was identified as a contractor from a Combs-linked promo company. His job wasn't to film her dress, it was to record her reaction. She wasn't a manager or a publicist. When federal agents reached out in 2024, she introduced herself with a shrug. "I was just the makeup girl, a freelance gig worker, hired for everything from influencer shoots to stand-ins and lookbooks." She recalled one job from 2015 that felt different. She'd been booked for a week-long studio session, not for a shoot, but for a prototype lookbook for future star grooming programs. At the center of the mood board, Selena Gomez. It started off like any glam session: highlight, contour, set the tone, but the face charts were eerie. Instead of lipstick shades, they listed cheek fatigue indicators. Instead of blush suggestions, they logged eye dilation versus flirt cues. One note even warranted tutusi, code to avoid shimmer that might reflect signs of panic. And the final instruction? Ideal expression, hollow. She brushed it off until she saw the same chart again 2 years later. This time, it was part of an internal branding deck for Combs Global, and this time, the file had a new label: emotional projection control, verified via Gomez. That's when it hit her. "I thought I was just doing glam," she said in her 2024 statement, but they weren't trying to capture her look. They were trying to replicate how she breaks. They wanted to train others to copy that. The address on file matched a 2015 shoot studio used for influencer work, but beneath the lease, a shell company traced back to Pulse Events. Buried in the week's call sheet was a redacted line item. Federal agents later uncovered a 14-second test clip from an archived Combs Productions drive. In the footage, a young woman wearing a black wig and red lipstick posed silently in front of a gray backdrop, and the resemblance wasn't a coincidence. It was a study. Selena wasn't being styled. She was being reverse-engineered. Backdrop. When told to smile, she suddenly broke down crying. At the very edge of a video frame, a name flickered for a split second: Hollow 153, final move. The video had been scrubbed of its timestamp just a week after a facial template had been signed off. The girl on screen wasn't Selena Gomez, yet her look was a near-perfect match for the chart. During testimony, the makeup artist ended with a chilling statement. This wasn't some footage pulled from a flashy raid or industry takedown. Instead, the evidence came from a nondescript storage unit, quietly rented through a shadowy shell corporation, connected to the now-defunct Artist Wellness Program under Combs Global. Tucked inside were 14 hard drives, 12 labeled, 2 left blank. But one of those blank drives held a hidden directory named Patient Profiles, Retention Tests. Inside that folder was a file marked SG Alt 03 compliant. Though it carried Selena's initials, the person it referenced wasn't her. The file mimicked a medical intake form, complete with a patient ID SG0003 and a chilling label, emotionally programmable. Under presenting issue, the document noted that the subject had no clue she was a prototype, fully believing her rise through the industry had been organic. But the true goal? To morph her eyes into camera-ready replicas and break down her speech into exact mimicry of Selena's rhythm. Attached were eerie assets: a headshot, emotional response charts, rewritten interview scripts, and a handwritten note that read, "Nearly ready, just needs to cry on cue." A stylist later testified that this wasn't about copying Selena's look. It was about hijacking her entire story so the public couldn't tell what was real anymore. Fast forward to 2022, and a girl turned up at a low-profile rehab center in Nevada. No ID, no online presence. The staff called her Blair, a name they borrowed from the stitched tag on her robe. Her admission was tied to a private media firm, one now traced back to a web of shell companies linked to Diddy. Blair wasn't just off, she was eerie. Movements matched Selena's 2013-2014 interviews with more than 90% accuracy. Even weirder, Blair used obscure phrases Selena had only spoken once, off camera. When questioned, Blair simply shrugged and said, "From the flashcards." Sure enough, the flashcards were in her file, labeled Gomez Psych Imprint. The last page of SG Alter 3's file contained sinister directives. If she cracks, pull the footage. If she questions, call her unstable. If she remembers, dismiss her as dramatic. And if the public notices, just say she's an obsessed fan. When Blair was eventually placed in federal protection, she requested a meeting with Selena, not out of anger, but to softly say, "You didn't mean to make me, but they built me from your pain." What came next wasn't a photo, not a video, and not even a witness. It was a flight manifest, dated October 3rd, 2018. The departure, Van Nuys Airport in Los Angeles. Tail number, Pulse 7B, linked to a shell-labeled jet operated under Combs' now-closed travel firm. For years, fans believed Selena quietly took time off in 2018 to prioritize her health. No paparazzi, no statements, just a 3-week vanishing act followed by rehab. But that manifest rewrote the timeline completely. The company behind her, Flight, folded in early 2019 after it was busted for false travel logs and shady security hires. Selena never spoke about that period, at least not publicly. But under subpoena, she finally testified. Her revelation was stark. She told no one she was leaving, not family, not friends. All she left behind was a short handwritten note: "Don't answer, don't come looking." On the back, a boarding pass stub with the same Pulse 7B tail number. What surfaced after wasn't an expose. It was far more haunting. A 14-minute voice memo was found on an iPad tucked into a jet seat pocket. In the recording, Selena's voice was calm but cracked with emotion. "I thought this was recovery, but I think it's something else," she said. "They keep showing me a list. I don't know the other girls, but they all kind of look like me." After a pause, she added something devastating. writing. They said I'm the center. Not because I'm strong, but because I cracked first. And just like that, she vanished again. There were no traceable flight records after that day. The public flight plan listed only a vague destination. Midpoint facility, NV. No photos of her. Arrival. But records did show one other person on board. A woman with the initials AG. Prosecutors never said her name out loud, but the room caught on fast. It had to be Ariana Grande. If true, that meant two of pop music's biggest names shared a covert flight into a chilling grooming system. 3 days later, the jet came back, but Selena wasn't on it. Only her bags made the return. Her iCloud location pinged in another state 12 hours later. Her next public sighting? At a New York mental health center. No press, no statements, just a grainy photo of her with her hood up, clutching a journal. The media called it a quiet recovery, but a closer look revealed a subtle red wristband flattened on the edge of her notebook, almost like a label. And on the final page of that flight manifest file, a checklist, cold, calculated, and terrifying. The last bullet read, narrative swap complete, subject returns compliant. And at the bottom, a grim note, subject SG requires reinforcement or replacement. Emotional consistency declining. Prototype showing signs of self-awareness. For 30 seconds, the courtroom was silent, because what they were reading wasn't just about a celebrity. This wasn't just about Selena. It was about a whole system, and she had become its blueprint. No names were spoken, no grand declarations made, just one haunting still image. A hotel vanity mirror in a Los Angeles recovery center, dated November 2018. The glass was smudged with fingerprints, streaked with tears, and scrawled in cherry red. Lipstick was a chilling message. She was never meant to stay. The handwriting wasn't Selena's, but the room was booked under her name. Security footage captured a girl, similar height, similar build, cloaked in a black hoodie and dark sunglasses. She entered the suite at 2:17 a.m. and slipped away through the back staircase at 3:41 a.m. No one identified her, but facial recognition showed an 87% match to Selena's biometric profile. Too close to ignore, yet too different to be real. This was likely one of the final projection trials, an SG mimic, sent in to be observed after the Pulse 7B flight. The goal? To see if anyone could tell the difference. If this blended imprint could move, react, and be forgotten just like Selena. Inside her hoodie was a travel tag, not from any store, but from an influencer distribution hub that ships promo apparel to talent agencies. The origin? Comamaze Creative East, the same label linked to the red wristband manufacturing and the shadowy Crimson 10 project. Then, beneath the sink in that suite, housekeepers found a small Ziploc bag holding a voice recorder, a friendship bracelet, and a folded casting script page were found. The script contained Selena Gomez's interview lines verbatim, including her answer to the question, "What do you say to girls who feel unseen?" The scripted response read, "I see you, even when no one else does." But someone had crossed out that line, replacing it with a messy black pen note. "I only see her and I can't find me." In the final hour of closing arguments, Selena's legal team presented a statement, not speculation, not accusation, just a clear summary and one last quote. Ms. Gomez was not targeted. She was studied, broken down, sampled, and replicated by a system that never asked permission because it never intended to care. The courtroom was silent. After weeks of footage, voice memos, and forged contracts, the truth wasn't about what Selena did. It was what they did to her. A girl in E. A hoodie boards a bus alone, humming a melody muffled through audio filters. Love you like a love song. She glances back once, smiles faintly, and disappears into the dark. She was never the star. She was the prototype. And once they perfected the formula, they didn't need her anymore.